At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the San Francisco Giants. Tuesday Night Baseball is presented by Verizon. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon, the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in America. By Tri Honda, hurry to your local Tri Honda dealer for great deals on 2017 models. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. And by People's United Bank N.A., see what know-how can do for you. And there's nothing that makes people happier than a walk-off win. There's the guy who got the walk-off hit last night, leaving his teammates and his manager all smiles. Look at all the brilliant smiles from the Mets, who've won 7 of their last 10 games, including their first walk-off victory of the season last night. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling will join us in a little bit as the Mets play the middle game of their series against the Giants. You know, Neil Walker had back surgery last year. It curtailed his season. Mets didn't know exactly what they were going to get this year, and while Neil has struggled overall with his offensive numbers, he's been right there when the clutch hits have been needed, including last night.
Well, he's always had the reputation of being a clutch hitter. And, Gary, he's a better left-hand hitter from the against the right-handers than he is against the left-handers. He's hitting better this year against left-handers, but this is a good sign. Last night he had 2 RBIs and 2 hits, both from the left side of the plate. The game winner, of course. They need Walker to get going. He's in that cleanup spot in the order. That's an important spot, so hopefully he's getting hot.
Hitting nearly 200 points higher with runners in scoring position than his overall average. Last time Zach Wheeler went to the mound for the Mets, he pitched 3 innings, and it didn't count. That was the game the Mets had rained out in Atlanta last week.
Well, you know, Zach missed a whole lot of time, and I've liked what I've seen from him this year. He says that most importantly, he's pain-free after every start. That's critical, but he's still got that electric fastball. It's all about command with Zach. He's pitching against his old team. He's 1-1 lifetime in 3 starts with an ERA over 5.
Jeff Samardzija pitched great against the Dodgers his last time out, but he's still looking for his first win of the year.
Well, he's 0-4, and he's also 0-4 lifetime against the Mets, which bodes well for the Mets, who are trying to get to 500 with a win tonight. Samardzija, of course, with the big contract here, having a tough season so far.
Mets trying to take advantage of the struggling Giants. They beat him in walk-off fashion last night. They try and beat him again tonight. It's the Mets and Giants at Citi Field. All the action coming your way on SNY. largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in America. By GMC. See the pros at your local GMC dealer. GMC, we are professional grade. And by New York Community Bank and the NYCB family of banks. Visit them at mynycb.com. Sunday, May 21st is a McDonald's Family Sunday when the Mets take on the Angels. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a pair of sunglasses presented by Coca-Cola. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Get to Citi Field Friday, May 19th. The Mets play the Angels at 7:10 p.m. All fans in attendance will receive an up-the-middle Neil Walker and his Dribble Cabrera t-shirt, courtesy of M&M's. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Free Shirt Friday. Another cool night in the big town. Mets try to get to 500 with a win tonight. Mets and Giants. First pitch is coming right up.
Selection in the first round of the 2009 first-year player draft, the San Francisco Giants select Zach Wheeler, a right-handed pitcher from East Paulding High School, Dallas, Georgia. The Atlanta Braves are now on the clock.
So a young Zach Wheeler found out that he was drafted by the San Francisco Giants. That was 8 years ago. 2 years later, he was traded to the Mets. He had a deal for Carlos Beltran before the trading deadline. It has turned out to be a wonderful deal for the Mets. And now for the fourth time, Wheeler will go back up against his old organization. Joe Panik leads off for the Giants. And Wheeler's first pitch is off the outside corner, and we're underway. Panik 2 for 4 last night in his return back to his hometown. Born in Yonkers, grew up in Hopewell Junction. And he fouls one back, and it's 1-1.
Yes.
There's your Hyundai starting lineup for the Giants tonight. Same group as last night. A little different grouping, though, with Gillespie moved up to the 5-hole. Nunez dropped down to 7. And Paddock lines one to left. Conforto comes in to get it, and that's the first out of the night. Well, we mentioned that Ronnie was going to join us, and he's joining us from a different venue tonight in the seats behind the third base on deck circle. There he is.
Hey, guys. How are you? Cool down here. It's a beautiful day. Not windy at all. It's even warmer than our booth, to tell you the truth.
So give us an idea of what you're doing down there and what you're hoping to see.
Well, really what I'm going to try to do is watch and try to study the mechanics of Zach Wheeler, because they've changed over time, especially since 2014. What was his last time that he was making a steady start? So I'm going to try to give you a little clue on how he's changed them a little bit.
Brandon Belton in second in the order for the Giants, hitless in his last 14 at bats, of a piece with a Giants team that is just struggling mightily right now. Giants 11-22 on the year, the lowest scoring team in the National League.
They're not hitting with any power, Gary. Their on-base percentage as a team is below 300.
0-2 from Wheeler, and Belt takes the fastball outside. Well, the Giants hit 2 home runs last night, but they're still last in the league in home runs, last in the league in runs scored, and their pitching has betrayed them as well. 13th in the league in staff ERA. So they have that -64 run differential, the worst in the majors. Wheeler comes inside to Belt, 2-2.
Well, Wheeler's fastball has not left him. He's still, after the surgery and the time off, he's still got that electric fastball.
And he strikes out Belt for the second out.
And your lovable Mets, your defense for the Metsies by Lexus. Curtis Granderson back in center field. Big pinch hit, double off the bench last night on the infield. The same as last night. Wilmer over at third. Wilmer showing a little versatility, getting a chance to play now that he's back. And Rene Rivera has made the most of his opportunity. He's been hitting the ball real well since starting.
Is Hunter Pence, who delivered a home run last night. And he fouls back the fastball. Ronnie, Wheeler threw 68 pitches in that rained out start in Atlanta.
Yes.
Should that make him a little bit stronger on regular rest tonight?
I think it definitely should make him a little stronger and a little hungrier to get out there, because he did have a lead when that game was called.
And he strikes out Pence on the high fastball. Back-to-back strikeouts for Wheeler to conclude his opening inning. Giants are down 1-2-3. Now the Mets will come up against Jeff Samardzija in the bottom of the first with no score. Starting lineup tonight, as Drupal Cabrera could have started today, Terry Collins said, but he wanted to give him one more day. Cabrera pinch hit last night, should start tomorrow. So Wilmer Flores in there against a right-hander tonight, but down in the 8-hole.
Well, there's Samardzija right there. And boy, what a tough start for him. His 4 starts against the Mets, its ERA's over 8. He's 0-4. 2 good starts where he got lost, and then 2 horrific starts where he really got racky-tapped.
The last one was a good one against the Dodgers, an unearned run on 3 hits over 8 innings, struck out 11 but came away with a no decision. Michael Conforto on base 3 times last night and scored 2 runs, including the game-winning run in the bottom of the 9th. I find it fascinating early in this series that the Giants just are not shifting against the Mets left-hand hitters the way most teams do.
I agree 100%.
And I wonder whether that's their own proclivity or whether they've watched some base hits, especially from Conforto, go through the left side against other teams.
Now this infield positioning right here, the left side of the infield, will be a position. Let's go back in time. This is how you'd play a left-hand hitting Dave Kingman. That would be the max.
How you play Willie McCovey.
Yes, that's how you'd play McCovey. Correct. That would be. This would be considered an extreme, a fairly extreme play to pull, but not today.
Conforto starts the night, top 10 in the league in on-base percentage and slugging percentage, and Samardzija misses high 2-2.
You know what I find interesting, guys, is that when you think about San Francisco, they have the reputation that all of their front office are baseball guys. They're not the numbers guys. Now, that might not be true, but that's the reputation that they have when you're talking about shifts.
Conforto gets under one, skies it into shallow center, and Gorky Hernandez settles under it. 1 out.
And the Giants defense, which was unmasked yesterday, your Coors Light Giants defense. Eduardo Nunez, a third baseman by trade and not a very good fielder. Boy, he had a tough time in left field last night. The youngster Christian Arroyo had a real tough time at the plate, taking a 0-for-4. Buster Posey got the big home run, and he hasn't been hitting with power, but he sure is a force behind the plate. He is a big reason why this Giants staff has been so successful over the years, even though they've struggled this year.
TJ Rivera making his 11th consecutive start, 1 for 5 last night. And he lines one to left. Nunez will have to play it on a hop, and Rivera has a 1-out hit.
Well, he loves to pull the ball. He loves that fastball middle end. Mr. Rivera. And they finally, the Giants, playing him a little more pull than yesterday. Got a double down that left field line. An RBI double yesterday's game.
1 out and 1 on, and now Jay Bruce, who was 1 for 5 last night. And Jay skies one foul, 0-1. Jay Bruce, 25 RBIs, already 9 in the month of May, and it's May 9th. An RBI a day keeps you in great pay.
Yes, it does. Particularly in today's game. Well,
Jeff Samardzija, in the second year of a 5-year, $90 million contract, earned it despite the fact that he has had rather mediocre results over the course of his career. Cubs, A's, White Sox, and now the Giants. And in fact, when he signed the 5-year deal with the Giants 2 winters ago, he was coming off a not very impressive season with the White Sox, in which he gave up more hits than any pitcher in the American League. So it was kind of a curious deal. He had a decent year last year for the Giants, 12-11, 3.81 ERA.
First winning season, Garrett,
yep,
he's ever had.
And, you know, he throws 200 innings a year, so he has value in that regard.
Well, that kind of value?
In the dirt, and Posey scoops it out. 1 and 2.
Guys, he also gave up a lot of home runs that last year for the White Sox. You know what Samardzij's reputation is? He's an amazing athlete that I think teams sought because they figured they could figure him out and teach him how to make it to the next level. I don't think he's gotten there yet.
He was a great football player at Notre Dame, thought about a pro football career. In fact, shocked his father that he decided to play baseball rather than football.
I think he made a wise choice.
You think?
Well, I think from a financial standpoint, I think he's made over $60 million, and he doesn't have to get
his bell rung, right?
Yes.
But how do you ever know? He might have been a more successful football player than baseball player.
Well, still, he doesn't have to get racky-tacked.
There is that. That's the second use of racky-tack in the first inning of the game.
Racky-tack squared.
I think if you get 3, you win a prize. 1-2 coming to Bruce, and the curveball ripped into right, a base hit. Rivera around second. He'll go to third. Bruce is going to try for 2 as Pence heaves it in, and the Mets have second and third and 1 out. 9th double of the year for Jay Bruce.
Breaking ball. Not out over the plate, up. Samardzij has always had issues with the left-handers. And it's the same this year. Left-handers hitting .296 with 5 home runs off of him. Right-handers under the Mendoza line. Way to stay back, Jay.
You know, Gary, you probably have these numbers. I don't know what the differential is in Samardzij and Zach Wheeler's fastball, but I know it's not that far apart. And the difference just visually, how fast Wheeler and electric his fastball is compared to Samardzij, is so evident down here.
I mean, the season numbers will tell you Wheeler's average 94.4, Samardzij 94.1. So you're right. On paper, they're fairly similar. Infield back for the Giants as last night's hero Neil Walker takes a strike. Walker drove in the first and last Met runs last night. Rivera at third, Bruce at second with 1 out. Mets have scored at least 1 run in the first inning in 7 of their last 8 games. And poised to try and do it again. Walker hits it out to left. Coming on is Nunez, and it goes by him all the way back to the warning track. Rivera scores. Bruce will score. Racing for third is Walker. The throw coming in is not in time, and the Mets have a 2-0 lead. The inexperience of Eduardo Nunez in left field costing the Giants, and the Mets played a pair as Walker winds up on third.
Well, totally misplayed. And this experiment out there, I know it's an emergency. It's not working out for the Giants.
It's almost like one led to another. As Bruce, he doesn't know what to do. He figures it's going to be caught. But he was so conservative on the ball hit by Rivera, it's almost like he wanted to make up for it on the ball hit by Walker, and it cost him.
They're going to score that a triple for Neil Walker, his first triple of the year. Now the infield comes in for the Giants against Curtis Granderson. So the Mets have now scored in the first inning in 8 of their last 9 games, thanks in part to the defensive woes of Eduardo Nunez in left field. 3 straight hits, a single, double, and triple against Samardzij. Granderson had a big pinch hit double last night that tied the game for New York.
Again, guys, in the rush to make players more versatile, just because you put a guy in a position doesn't mean he can play.
And there's an old baseball saying, if you put a guy out of position, the ball will find him every time.
Well, what's ironic about this, and I'll wait for after the pitch.
Granderson pops one foul. Belt might have room. Drifting and stays with it. Nice play by Belt. Halfway down the line, Walker. Now the throw comes behind him, and Walker gets back to the bag.
You definitely don't want to make the long throw.
You know, what Walker could have done is stop, and when he made the long throw back to third, go home, because he had tagged up. He could have done that.
Well, Belt alertly realized knows there's a runner on third.
When the throw goes to third, he could have came home.
You got to run the ball in.
Well, that's a great point, Ronnie. That ball was in the air so long, he probably would have beaten it.
Ill-advised. throw, that's for sure.
So now Reyes at the plate with 2 out and Walker still at third. And Samardzija fires a fastball for a strike.
But the point I was going to make before the pop-up was that the Giants have always been a team, sound defense, fundamentals, advancing runners. They've been a fundamentally sound team, and boy, they are in a bad way right now.
He may need to place a phone call to Senor Pagan. I mean, Angel Pagan has been such a big part of the Giants' success over the last few years, and I know he's had injuries, and he's a little older now, but he is sitting home and not playing. And with Denard Span and Jared Parker on the disabled list, it's really forced the Giants to go a little too deep into their outfield well. All-speed pitch to Reyes, and it's 2-1. Red-hot Rene Rivera would be next. Reyes 0 for 3 last night. And he lines one to center field, and that's a base hit. And Walker comes in with the 3rd run of the inning. Jose Reyes with a 2-out RBI single, and the Mets have put up a 3 spot in the opening inning.
Well, Samardzija's fastball, I can tell right now. Watch how it runs flat. Oh, that's a little. Tried to throw a sinker there. It didn't sink. But I can see why he has issues with the left-hand hitters. His ball stays flat. It runs away from a lefty. He's going to have difficulty throwing inside to lefties.
Now Rene Rivera, 2 hits last night, 10 hits in his last 5 games. He's never done that before in his major league career. Had 10 hits in a 5-game span. So Rene getting an opportunity to play more and more with Travis d'Arnaud on the disabled list, and not only contributing defensively, but now contributing with his bat. He has his average up to .321 on the year. He's never been that kind of a hitter. And he smokes one to center field, chasing Hernandez back, away back. On the warning track, it's over his head. Reyes around third. He will score. Rene Rivera pulls in with an RBI double. 4-0 New York. What has gotten into the bat of Rene Rivera? A 405-foot double for Rivera, and the Mets have a 4th spot in the 1st inning.
Well, this is a tough play for Hernandez here, but the Giant defense is just an eyesore here.
You know, guys upstairs, I never saw it on the TV, and I could be wrong, but sitting in this seat, Rivera seems so more crouched this year before the pitch comes than he was last year. Maybe our truck can maybe take a look at that, but from this vantage point, he seems incredibly crouched, and I wonder if that's a big difference for him.
Well, we'll see how long he keeps it up. I mean, he's gotten his opportunity here with d'Arnaud down, and he's making the most of it.
I mean, Rene Rivera is a guy who's been around for a while, made his debut 13 years ago in the major leagues, as Wilmer Flores takes a curveball for a strike, and Rene is a lifetime .218 hitter coming into today. And he is just blowing the doors off right now, hitting .333 on this season with that long double. Flores hitting 8th in the lineup against a right-hander, and he bounces one foul. 0-2. Wilmer had 2 hits last night.
This Mets offense, it seems to me like every time we look around, they're batting around again.
And isn't it interesting that we started the season talking about how they were home run or bust, and right now they're anything but. They've been regularly stringing hits together and scoring runs without home runs. In fact, they've gone 3 straight games without a home run, which ties their longest homerless streak in the last 2 years. Wilmer hits one in the air to center. This one's playable for Hernandez. And that retires the side, but 8 men come to bat, and the Mets score 4. 4-0 New York after 1. customizable experience with the MLB.com at Bat app. Get New York Mets home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. Zach Wheeler staked to a 4-0 lead as he takes them out for the second to face Buster Posey. And fires a fastball outside for ball one.
Just one quick observation, guys, how difficult it is to hit as a catcher. Posey did not have one practice swing. He barely got his equipment off, got his bat, went right to the batter's box. Never swung the bat once.
That's a great point, Ronnie. You know, whoever thinks about that a catcher in between innings, even with as much time as we have in between innings now, just barely has enough time to get all that catching equipment off.
You know, you got a pitcher who just gave up a 4 spot. He probably wants a little guidance in between innings, and he's got to kind of listen to it before he gets out here to try to get a hit.
Posey homered last night, and he hits a comebacker to Wheeler. 1 out.
I have a sense here, Gary, that the Giants look a wee bit demoralized. This is the back end of the last leg of their road trip here. They head home after this series.
That's a little misleading, that graphic, because Zach, of course, started 5 days ago against the Braves. Got rained out of a start that lasted for 3 innings, but his last official start was a week ago Saturday. Connor Gillespie moved up to number 5 in the order, even though he's just 3 for his last 30. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Connor Gillespie, who had his career moment here last October, hitting the game-winning home run in the wild card game against Jerry's Familia. But just 6 for 40 to start this season. The Mets have their own injury problems, but the Giants are plagued as well. Denard Span, who would be playing center field for them, is out. Brandon Crawford, their regular shortstop, is out. They were hoping perhaps to have Crawford back by tonight, but that was not the case after his first rehab game last night.
Well, they're in hopes that he'll play tomorrow now.
Right. Of course, they're missing their most important pitcher, Madison Bumgarner, but they're also now missing their closer. Mark Melancon just went on the disabled list today. There's the Giants' offensive numbers, last or next to last in all those key categories. Melancon's got a pronator strain. Ronnie, you got to help me out with the anatomy here. What's a pronator strain?
Well, the only time you usually hear pronator is when you hear pronation, and that's what pitchers do when they throw the ball. Their arm pronates, means like it kind of turns over. So usually I've heard that the pronator is the back of kind of the forearm. So we hear about the flexor strain, which is on top. Sometimes that's just more on the side of the forearm, which usually ends up being a little issue sometimes with the elbow.
So now they've got their best starter and their closer both on the disabled list. So just the hits just keep on coming for the Giants. They start the night with the worst record in baseball at 11-22. Gillespie hits a soft one on a hop to Walker. 2 out.
Okay, that's not a hit there, but the slowing down of the motion that Wheeler had in his mechanics there was so evident from here on the side. He just slowed his entire body down to throw that secondary pitch, and that's something that the first time through you might be able to get away with. Second time through, not so much.
And as a hitter, Keith, do you guys recognize that from the batter's box, from the dugout?
Yes, no question.
And how long does it take a team to make that adjustment once you've seen that?
Depends on the hitter. If they do it once, you're alert to it. Okay, it might be, you know, a freak. If it happens again on the next breaking ball, you start honing in. Third time, it's tip city.
Well, when I watch Zach's motion, there's nothing I don't like in how he's changed it since 2014. Compact, nice and slow, and like a whip at the end. You know, there's really 3 things that you're trying to do with mechanics. You want to be efficient in pitching. That means how easily can you throw hard. He throws harder easily than anyone on the tee. You want to try to improve your velocity. Well, his velocity has always been there, and he's not lost any since the injury. And the third thing in mechanics, you want to try to get to a point where you reduce the risk of injury. And that, of course, is very important to Zach.
2-2 to Christian Arroyo, who struck out 4 times last night.
Yeah, he was a tad overmatched with DeGrom last night.
Arroyo just 21 years old, has only been in the big leagues for about 2 weeks. 2-2 from Wheeler. And it's just off the plate with the slider, 3-2.
The reason that Zach can throw so hard, when you watch his motion, folks, his bottom half, belt down, opens before his top half. That's where that whip-like effect comes in. That's what the guys do who throw over 95.
And that one 98. Seventh pitch of the at-bat coming to Arroyo. And now just a foul back, a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Four-run lead, no free passes.
There's the free pass.
Change up to third pitch.
First base runner of the night for the Giants, a 2-out walk.
Whenever I was talking about the belt down opening up, watch his motion, okay, the leg kick, and now watch from the belt down. Watch those hips just fire, but you have to stay closed. And once your foot hits, that's called a foot strike. So as soon as it strikes, that's when the upper body spins around the core and fires that ball to home plate. So open with the bottom half and have that top half closed to the last second and then rip through as you try to throw it home.
Now Eduardo Nunez takes a strike.
Wish I had known all this stuff like in 1982. It might have helped, but that's how it goes.
You learned quick enough.
Ronnie, when you guys were pitching, did you get to watch a lot of video of yourself to be able to make those observations?
You know, we had a wonderful man, Fitzy was his name, that used to take VCR, VHS tapes of us, and you know, they just weren't great quality, and it was really hard. The camera was really in back of the netting,
right,
so you really couldn't see the little things that you needed to see.
Great Joe Fitzgerald. Little comebacker for Wheeler. Nunez retired. 3 ground ball outs in the inning for Wheeler. Middle of the second, 4-0 Mets.
there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help, and I think he's going to use them. I don't think he thinks he has to do it by himself anymore. I think he knows he's got people in his corner, no matter what their title is, that are going to help him try to go down the right path, do the right things. He got a text from Bartolo. I thought it was, he needs to take it as pretty special. That, these guys are all there for him. So hopefully, Matt gets it. And when you sit and talk to him one-on-one, as I've told you guys, nobody likes to be embarrassed here. And that's kind of where he's at right now.
Quote of the game presented by Investors Bank, banking in your best interest. Terry Collins talking in the wake of Matt Harvey's apology today. Matt held a press conference, apologized to his teammates before he went and talked before the media, apologized to the organization and really everybody for his actions, and promised that he would try to improve. And I think that, given the circumstances, he did all that he could have done today.
Well, it's, you make your apology. I mean, I've played with players that have been late and have been issues. And as a player, Gary, it doesn't affect your performance. You go out there and you play every day. You only do your job. And I think with the Mets, and I don't want to put the point on anybody, but, Darryl was a little problematic at times. But it never affected us on the field. We had a job to do out there. Okay, if he was late, he wasn't in the lineup. Davey took him out of the lineup. We were fine. We went with it. But Matt has got actions are stronger than words. So he's got to prove it now. He's got a lot of proving to do.
Well, that's what Terry Collins said. He said, "Don't tell me, show me." And Ronnie, what I've always noticed is that the concern for teammates is mostly about having to be asked questions about the teammate who is in whatever difficulty he's in.
Yeah, I mean, that is the hardest part, is that you just get sick and tired of having to answer questions about something that's very delicate and doesn't have an answer anyway. It puts you in a difficult spot, and players can tend to resent that.
But Matt owned up to the fact that he was out late Friday night, that he played golf Saturday, didn't show up at the ballpark on Saturday, and what the mechanics of that were really doesn't matter at this point. But as Terry Collins put it, he said, Matt has to show that baseball is his #1 priority. And I think that maybe at this point Matt understands that better too.
When I was in the room, when Terry Collins became emotional, you forget that, Terry's family, his children, are the people he manages and coaches his entire life. And he's invested, 100% in each and every player. So just like, when you have a child who might disappoint you, your own child, it's not like you don't still love them. You expect more from them. But that to me was interesting, that I think Terry Collins, to me, feels as though, boy, what could I do to make him be a little better?
Well, you see Terry with Matt earlier today. So Matt's going to pitch Friday in Milwaukee. And do you think that moving his start to Friday so he pitches on the road for his next 2 starts ends up working in his favor?
Well, it almost gives them kind of a punt here, an opportunity not to have to face the crowd here, who's going to, be demonstrative in whatever way they want to. But, boy, watch out what you wish for. Milwaukee and Arizona, both hitters' parks.
And hitters' teams, too.
And, he wasn't pitching the next day. So if you want to go out, that's perfectly fine. You want to play golf and you're not pitching, that's perfectly fine. But you've got to get your fanny to the ballpark on time. And if you can't drive, you call a car service to get you to the park, and you call a car service to get you home.
And, it's important to remember that this was not the first time with Matt. It happened during the postseason in 2015, too. We don't know if it's happened any other times. Those are the ones we know about. And and I think that had something to do with the fact that the Mets, rather than fining him, decided to suspend him for 3 days. You can argue that it would have been easier for all concerned if they had just come out and said what it was, rather than, making it a mystery and forcing Page 6 and everybody else to scramble for details. But I guess the rest of the story starts now. Long turn at bat for Conforto. He's already seen 10 pitches in this turn at bat from Samardzija, who gave up 4 runs in the first inning on 5 hits, exacerbated by some ugly defense in left field. Conforto flied out his first time up. And Michael rockets one into right center for a base hit. Hernandez scooting over, cuts it off. Conforto will try for 2 anyway and makes it safely. On the 11th pitch of the at bat, Michael Conforto with his 4th double of the year.
Well, another little spinning breaking ball here. Not much. Conforto stays right back with that beautiful stroke. And he really cut the corner nicely to get this double around first base. Really turned it. No wide berth. Well done.
You know, Keith, what we see from the booth is a result of Conforto's hits from down here, because you get to compare each hitter to the other hitters. The bat speed that he has is not matched by many on the field tonight.
Now T.J. Rivera, who had a base hit to left field and scored the first Met run.
Well, I've always loved Conforto's swing from the get-go. I just think he got a little off to the hot start last year. A little pull happy, home run happy. I think he learned his lesson. Stay with what got you to the big dance. Don't make any alterations. Beautiful balance. Look at the balance. By balance, I mean he's not leaning forward, not falling back on his haunches. He's straight up and down, and just that quick bat.
Rivera hits one out to left center field. Back in the gap goes Nunez. Near the wall, and it's off the fence on the fly. Conforto around third. He will score. Back-to-back doubles. T.J. Rivera drives in a run. And it's 5-0 New York. And T.J. Rivera is 2 for 2.
Wow, this had a lot of hang time, and Nunez in left field was nowhere close to it. This is as bad an outfield defense as I've seen in quite a while. And I know they're banged up, and it's patchwork, but it is showing in spades.
No warm-up action in the Giants bullpen as Samardzija's gotten hammered for 5 runs and 7 hits over an inning and a third. It was Jay Bruce who doubled his first time up. So Samardzija, who pitched so well at Dodger Stadium his last time out last Wednesday, 8 innings, an unearned run, 3 hits, no walks, 11 strikeouts. It's been the opposite for him tonight.
Oh, that ERA was at 5.03 coming into this game, and it's gonna leap. And remember, against the Mets in his 4 career starts, an ERA of 8.59, and boy, oh boy. I'm finally hearing some boos from Giant fans here.
Bruce lays off the curveball at his feet. Stopped it in time. Stu Sherwater, the third base umpire, with the call. 2-1.
Back in those old candlestick days when the Giants weren't a good team in the 70s and early 80s, before the Will Clark came in and they took off. Well, you could hear everybody there, a drop of a hat.
Well, they were cold. They had to make noise to stay warm.
They've all had hidden flasks, too, to stay warm.
Splitter there from Samardzija, 2-2. Rivera at second and 1 out. 2-2 coming to Bruce, and it's upstairs, ball 3.
You know, Keith, remember there was a pitching machine that we used to have, not a truck, but it was called an iron mic,
yes,
where the ball would just come out and just uniformly the arm would go down and throw you BP. That's kind of how Samardzija is. He doesn't have a lot of deception in his windup. It's kind of all arm, straight over the top.
He can't pitch inside the left-handers.
And he doesn't hide the ball.
He's got that three-quarter delivery, Ronnie, and the ball is going to run away from a left-hand hitter, and he gets it. He's up. It stays flat, and it's easy to track. And you have no fear of anything inside, and so it's going to be a tough road for him to hoe with this kind of stuff he's got going on right now.
Samardzija now 32 years old. Originally drafted by the Cubs out of Notre Dame in 2006. And Bruce goes down on strikes. And that's the second out of the inning. First strikeout of the night for Samardzija.
Ronnie, you said his off-speed pitch is a splitter?
Yeah, he has a split finger kind of changeup. It's not that hard split finger. It's more, he uses it more as a changeup. You know, he's just always had trouble, Keith, pitching when he's behind in the count and being able to get a breaking ball over for a strike. I mean, a sharp one, not a get me over one. That's always been kind of the issue for Jeff.
Now Walker, who hit a sinking line drive to left that Eduardo Nunez whiffed on, and it went past him for a triple that drove in 2 runs.
Gave Walker got 2 RBIs out of that. Thank you very much.
Neal, it was his 19th career triple. He had 1 last year. And now he has his first of this season.
He got one of those RBIs back that he should have had last night.
Good point. That ground rule double in the first inning. Samardzija behind him 2-0 with Granderson on deck. And Walker fouls back the fastball 2-1. When Jeff Samardzija was traded from the Cubs to the A's, the Cubs obtained a key piece for their World Series run. They got Addison Russell in that deal. Turned out to be a great deal from a Cubs standpoint. And he was just a rental for the A's. He wound up with the White Sox the next year.
Wasn't that the year that Billy Beane finally made all the moves for the big push, and it just blew up?
Well, they had a 3-run lead against the Kansas City Royals with John Lester on the mound in the wild card game.
Yep. And then the stolen bases started.
That's right.
And Walker strikes out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Samardzija to end the inning, but back-to-back doubles for Conforto and Rivera. Add a run. 5-0 Mets after 2. Third inning, Zach Wheeler and the Mets now with a 5-0 lead. Giants send up the number 8 hitter, Gorkys Hernandez, 0 for 3 last night. Hernandez, then the pitcher, Samardzija, and Joe Panic for the Giants in the third against Wheeler is not yet allowed a hit. And a knee-high fastball to Hernandez, 1-1.
Boy, this lineup, looking at the Giant lineup, I mean, after Posey in the cleanup role position, gosh, you take your chances down there with that bottom half.
Yeah, they really need to get Crawford and Span back in the lineup. Hernandez fouls it away. Gorkys Hernandez, well-traveled outfielder. Played for the Pirates, played for the Marlins, 29 years old. Two from Wheeler. And slashed foul. Zach's been dominant against right-hand hitters this year. They're hitting just .204 against him. A little more trouble with the lefties. And Hernandez able to lean back. 3-2.
This is where you're talking about, Keith. 5-run lead, 3-2 count. Just challenge this guy on the outer part.
No free passes in this bottom half of the order. Just go get him.
Let it fly.
I think you said that about DeGrom last night against Hernandez right before he walked him. But this time Wheeler gets the ground ball and the 3-1 putout for the first down.
You know, one of the things I like is that it doesn't matter when you look at his stride. It's speed of stride and length of stride are the two components that can really lead to velocity for a pitcher. And Zach has both. That's why he can throw the ball 98 miles an hour. Think about it this way, because we'll use the Giants because they're here. Tim Lincecum was 5'11". His stride was 129% of his height. So it was 7 feet 11 inches was his stride to the plate. So it tells you that even a little person, speed of stride, length of stride can mean throwing the ball hard.
So when you say speed of stride, you mean speed from what point?
But from the top of when you stop and balance, how quickly you can get your foot to strike on that on the mound, on the dirt in front of you, how quickly you can get it there, and the length of it are both two ways to generate tremendous velocity. Again, it's really like hurling yourself towards the plate, your entire core.
Samardzija, lifetime 130 hitter. Takes the slider out of the strike zone, 2-2. Just missed. 3-2.
Again, we're watching the lower half. We always talk about that when we talk about generating speed. How do you use your legs? So when he gets to the top, speed of the stride and length of the stride. You can see how quickly he gets from top to bottom. That's why he throws so hard.
Samardzija takes one the other way, and he's got his first hit of the season. And the first hit tonight against Zach Wheeler.
Down and away, not a bad pitch. Samardzija goes right with it.
You know, I was talking about the speed of the stride, Gary. I guess to put it all together, because everything works together, the faster you can move from the top to putting your foot on the ground means the more you're using that back leg. So you're whipping that stride towards the plate, which brings your backside through to the plate also. So I don't know. I think they have a fancy word for it now. I think, or phrase. They call it, kinetic core towards the plate. But really, it's your ability to get as much of your body into the pitch as you can.
Well, it's
Speed of
like,
stride helps.
I mean, I would think it's something like the hip rotation of a hitter, right?
Same.
Yeah.
Being able to have that tremendous strength in your core, but also the elasticity, the movement around your core, and how quick that is, that generates bat speed.
All that part of the science of baseball, brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear. Joe Panik rifles one foul.
I had my Bill Nye moment. Very nice.
I have an important question for you, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Where you're sitting, do you have a screen in front of you?
I do. So I'm good.
Oh, I see it right there, the monitor. Okay.
Now, you're watching the game through the screen.
Yes.
Do you notice the screen?
No, I do not.
And the reason I ask that is because there's been a lot of conversation about teams extending the screens, which some teams have done, to the ends of the dugouts, which the Mets have declined to do.
Yeah.
And most of the teams that haven't done it have said they don't do it because fans don't like to sit behind screens because it impedes their view. And I guess what I'm asking you is it impeding your view?
It's not. But I'm watching the game maybe a little different than the average fan.
Granderson lines up the fly ball by Panik. And that's the second out.
As much as I'd like to have a cold one and a hot dog, I mean, I'm really concentrating here. So until you mentioned it, I didn't even notice that I had a screen in front of me.
Ronnie, if you do, don't worry. I won't tell.
Except that we have a camera down there.
Oh, that's right.
It's a TV thing.
I think one thing we've learned this week, anything that you do will be found out. So
it's getting that way.
That's right.
As you sit there and look out to center field, there's that big ad right under the Nikon sign where it says the Jim Beam Bourbon Bar.
Oh.
I've been trying to advocate that we do a game from out there, and just let things occur naturally.
I think I'm very proud of you because I never thought of you as a bourbon man, but you're going to venture that way just for a game's sake.
I haven't been, but I'm willing to try. Just sipping, we're talking about. Nothing major. Brandon Belt swings through the fastball, and it's 1-1. Belt struck out his first time up.
Belt has a difficult time anything upstairs with some light. Watch his back shoulder, and the bat follows the angle of his shoulders, and he cannot swing right through that pitch of Belt high and up. He likes that ball down.
And now Wheeler up in the count 1-2. Belt has struck out 4 consecutive at bats. And he's gone hitless in his last 15 at bats.
One thing you want to see, guys, is that a pitcher does not lose his stuff when he's in the stretch. I mean, is it the same as it is when he's in the windup?
And what do you see from Zach in that regard?
Well, it's easier in this circumstance because if you're pitching, you don't have to worry about the pitcher. He's not going to steal a base. It's 5-0. You have a 5-run lead, so you don't have to worry about the runner. So you can really take a nice leg kick and just almost replicate throwing from the windup.
And Belt takes strike 3 called. Inning over. Third strikeout of the night for Wheeler. In the 5th straight time Belt has been struck out. 5-0 Mets in the 3rd. Rangers news, notes, and reactions from tonight's Game 6 as they look for a win against the Senators on home ice on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. A better win. The season's over.
Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful.
What color is that the Empire State Building is sporting tonight? It's a little
That Fifth Avenue?
I'm out on this one.
I should know better.
pinkish magenta. That's 34th Street, right past.
Oh, it's looking east
Empire
and
State.
west. Okay.
From the ballpark.
Well, that's right.
This,
Of course.
This is from here.
All right.
Toward New Jersey.
Don't embarrass me.
See, now if it were San Francisco, you'd be able to tell me. I heard that you were finally feted on the Giants pregame show tonight.
I was, and it was disappointing.
Why is that?
Oh, all they wanted to know about was Harvey.
Yeah.
They wanted all the gossip. And I'm a hometown boy. Done good.
Oh, you were expecting hero's welcome.
Well, not a hero's welcome, but accolades.
Granderson pops one up behind third, a long run back for Gillespie, and he gets there for the out. So 1 out and nobody on. We'll have to have a parade for you sometime, Keith. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon. Current Verizon Wireless or Fios customers go to sny.tv/Verizon all season long for access to unique Tuesday night baseball experiences. 1 out in the home third. Now Jose Reyes, who singled to center to drive in a run in the first. That scored 4 in the first, 1 in the second against Jeff Samardzija. It's amazing how Reyes has progressed from the first 3 weeks to the last couple.
Well, he got off to as bad a start as you could possibly. I mean, that's a nightmare start that Jose got off to. And it's just a funny game. You come to the park one day, he was 5 weeks mired, and then you come to the park, you hit one ball good.
And he laces one toward the middle, and it's stopped by the shortstop Arroyo, who throws him out.
Beautiful play.
So Arroyo with a step and a dive snags it on a hop and guns down Reyes.
This was a rocket and just a very fine play. Well done. He finally got a play made behind him. He should throw ground balls instead of fly balls.
Well, but getting back to the point about Reyes, that's his 36th consecutive plate appearance without a strikeout.
Oh.
So he is putting it in play, and right now putting it in play with authority. Speaking of authority, how about the Mets raging Riveras? Rene and TJ, who are both just clubbing it right now. Rene hit a 405-foot double to drive in a run in the first inning. And he grounds that one down to third. Gillespie plays the hop, and Samardzija finally has himself an easy inning. He gets the Mets out on just 7 pitches. After 3, Mets 5, Giants nothing. Fourth inning at Citi Field. Mets with a 5-0 lead. Zach Wheeler's allowed just one hit over the first 3 innings. He'll take on 3, 4, and 5 in the Giants' order in the 4th. Meanwhile, they left a base out on the field. They replaced the bases between innings, and the old third base was sitting in foul territory. And Phil Nevin, the Giants' third base coach, finally noticed.
Well, you know how I feel about the grounds crew. They do a great job, but that's a fine.
So now we can start the inning. Hunter Pence takes a fastball for a strike. You want to hear a real oddity? Hunter Pence has hit 3 home runs this year. Buster Posey, who hits behind him, has hit 3 home runs this year. They have homered in the same game 3 times.
That's amazing.
And they haven't homered any other times this season.
The Pence has been hurt this year, has he not? Has he missed some time?
No.
No? Okay.
Last 2 years has been hurt a lot. Posey was out for a week. He got hit in the head. Two and 2 to Pence. The signs are back. Pat tries his pizza with a napkin. Well, sometimes when it's a little oily, you got to do that.
At least he doesn't eat it with a fork and knife.
No. Boy. Tapper, who's going to get it? Rivera does. The quick throw, just in time to get Pence. That ball hung around home plate for a while before Rene was able to pounce on it. Pence wants the Giants to challenge the call. We'll see whether they do.
He had a choice. If he let it go, it might have gone foul, but he didn't take that choice.
Well, let's see if a first base umpire gets it right. Even last couple of years have been. I think he got it right.
Brian Knight, the first base umpire.
That's an improper stretch from TJ. I think he just did get him, Gary. If it's by that rule you said.
We're back to the interior of the glove.
Right. Doesn't have to go to the back of the glove. It only has to touch the inside of the glove. The Giants are challenging the call.
This is like a Seinfeld skit with the interior of the glove. It doesn't have to go to the back of the glove, but the interior of the glove.
If we can show the stretch again, see, there's no stretch. You want to step toward the throw. So guess that's 3 feet or more that you'd be closer to the ball, and it's not even a close play. Now TJ's not a first baseman.
Now Keith, looked like he was concentrated on making sure that his target was far enough in fair territory.
But once you see the ball coming to you, you have plenty of time to make your stride towards the ball. Now, when you're not a first baseman, it's like hitting. When you're in a slump, everything speeds up, and you can't expect he's out. Good call.
So the call is confirmed. Play under review was brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters. So the Giants lose their challenge.
So nice play by Rene Rivera there. And TJ's not a first baseman. I'm not being critical. I mean, he's filling in there. He's getting an opportunity to play, and he's done a very journeyman-like job over there for someone with limited experience.
So 1 out, and now Buster Posey, who had a comebacker his first time up, and takes the slider off the plate. Gerald Dempsey Posey is now 30 years old. He drives one to deep left field. Back goes Conforto onto the warning track near the wall. It's out of here. Buster Posey is homered for the 2nd straight night. His 4th of the year gets the Giants on the board and cuts the Mets lead to 5-1.
Left that curveball out over the plate too much. Let's go with one hand. Oh, that's a hanger. Now it's off speed, and that's why he's a little out in front, but he got good balance, and he had to reach the last minute, letting go with that one hand, and that gets the barrel of the bat on. It gives you that extra extension, and you hit it on the sweet spot. It'll go.
Gillespie hits the comebacker for the 2nd out. It's the first hit Buster Posey's ever had against Zach Wheeler in 8 career at bats. So if form holds, doesn't that mean Hunter Pence has to homer before the ninth?
Well,
You know, Keith, what I found interesting is when Posey was in the on-deck circle, Wheeler was pitching to Pence, really didn't pay attention to Wheeler at all. Barely even looked out at him. You know how guys try to sit and watch the pitcher,
Sure.
try to time him? He did none of that.
I see a lot of hitters today, like the on-deck batter right now, who's Eduardo Nunez. They stand up and they get in their stretch. They're positioned to hit. It used to be that when I used to do it was you get down on one knee, you get warm, you take your warm-ups, and you get loose, and you get down on one knee and you focus on what the pitcher is trying to do. But a lot of hitters, they try to pretend like they're up at the box from the on-deck circle. And there were people that did that when I played too. But predominantly, everybody was down on a knee.
Wheeler behind on Arroyo 3-0. He walked Arroyo his first time up. And he walks him again. Only 2 walks Wheeler's given up to the 21-year-old shortstop, who was on base with 2 out. And now it's Nunez, who had a comebacker his first time up. Wheeler's already gotten 6 ground ball outs among his first 11 outs tonight. And Nunez takes a fastball for a strike. Eduardo Nunez, an all-star last year with Minnesota before being traded to the Giants. Hit sharply, but right at Walker, down to a knee. And that retires the side. Another ground ball out for Zach Wheeler. Giants get on the board on Posey's home run, but the Mets lead 5-1. Bottom of the 4th inning, the Mets with a 5-1 lead. Let's go to the Porsche Grill and to Steve Gelb's Inside Baseball, whose report tonight is brought to you by Porsche. Steve?
Well, Gary, I don't know if you guys saw this last night, but Kevin Pillar in Toronto made an unbelievable catch in center field, but he might have had to run a little further than normal to make that grab. After the game, he told a reporter that Marcus Stroman, when he feels his sinker is working, likes his outfielders to play shallow. He says that he would rather give up, a double, a booming double that he feels like is his his fault rather than a bloop single, which would frustrate him to no end. And I found that really interesting. So I took the pulse of some of the Mets pitchers and position players. So Jerry Blevins, Addison Reed, and Curtis Granderson, who has played outfield all his life. And all of them actually said something similar, that for the most part, the pitchers tend to feel like if they're going to give up a double, it's on them. They'd rather their outfielders be shallow rather than play deep.
Sliding stop by Arroyo, the off-balance throw offline, and Flores has an infield hit. That was an unbelievable play by Pilar. Think about the defensive outfielders they have in that division with Kevin Kiermaier in Tampa Bay and Pilar in Toronto. So, Ronnie, when you were pitching, did you feel the same way, that you'd rather have your outfielders play shallow?
Well, one, I never spent a second of my time worrying where the players were playing or positioning them anywhere. Too hard to pitch and worry about where the defense is playing. That's on them to play where they want to play. As far as the outfield is concerned, Zach pops that bunt up. As far as the outfield plays, it depends on the outfielder. I've had some unbelievable outfielders that I want them to play shallow, and because I know they can go back on the ball. And there's other guys I play with, I want to play almost up against the wall because they can't go back on the ball at all. It really depends on their expertise on D.
Does it depend on the ballpark too?
Ballpark too, the hitter up.
Obviously,
there's
the hitter
so many factors.
I think it's kind of astounding. I mean, even if you're a pitcher that's got your stuff working and you're a sinker ball pitcher, you're going to get a pitch up every now and again. Now, it depends on the situation. If it's a tight game late and the runner's on first and second, a double's going to beat you. A ball in front of you, you're still in the game. So I think it relies on, A, the batter up. If the batter's got power, you can't play shallow. I don't want him playing shallow. You're going to get hurt, I think, more on the double. And even though it's the pitcher's mistake, so what? I mean, they're not perfect.
Wheeler strikes out trying to bunt for the first down.
Keith, how about this? Talk about the factors. How about the count? If I'm 3-1, 2-1 on a hitter, it's a lot different than if I'm 1-2 on a guy. So you might take a step back if I'm behind on a hitter and I have to come in with a good fastball. There's so many factors that come in. That's why I never worried about the defense. The hitter was tough enough.
There's too much thinking going on.
Here's Conforto, who doubled and scored in the second inning. Flores at first and one out.
And guys, what you were just talking about, that was just one aspect of it. Ron, you actually touched on this. And this is another thing that just kind of piqued my interest is I feel like I've never seen a pitcher move outfielders, maybe move infielders around, but I've never seen a pitcher move outfielders. But again, checking in with a couple of the Mets, they have the ability to do that, which somewhat surprised me in this day and age with all the statistics and the advanced data. But a guy like Jerry Blevins says sometimes, especially before a series, he'll go into a meeting and he'll actually voice, okay, when this guy's up, I actually want you to play him differently, specifically with a big left-hander maybe that's a big power guy. He likes to move the left fielder in because he feels like that pitch, if he gets it on the outside, it'll be a dinker. So that's something that Blevins likes to do. Addison Reed doesn't. He says, I feel like if I move an outfielder, that's exactly where the ball's going to be hit. So he doesn't want to touch that. But it was just interesting, that a pitcher would do that with outfielders.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, Jim Palmer used to move outfielders and infielders. I remember watching, because they seemed like they were always in the postseason.
Conforto strikes out for the second out. Well, I remember a pitcher who used to move his outfielders all the time. Eddie Feiner.
Oh, okay. The slow pitch, fast pitch softball.
King in his court.
Yeah, because he only had three fielders behind him.
Exactly, so he had to move them all the time. Back-to-back strikeouts for Samardzija after the leadoff infield hit for Flores. So Samardzija settling in a bit after a very rough beginning.
But I don't want to belabor a point, but they have so many charts today where hitters hit the ball off lefties, off righties. Doesn't that go cut against the grain of all that scouting? And they play with the shifts. They're playing trends. They're playing percentage. If you move someone out, we're going to play player A this way, and then the pitcher moves them.
Well, I think that was the point Steve was trying to make. But, for all of the charts, I think sometimes Maybe the pitcher feels he knows better. TJ lines one into right field. He's got his third hit of the night. Flores will go first to third. TJ Rivera is 3 for 3.
And going the other way, Gary, something we haven't seen him do. The most times he's gone to right field, it's been in the air. This is a line drive. Little flat slider, stays on the same plane. Nice job, TJ. 3 for 3. Runs scored.
What did you say, Gary? He hits everywhere he goes.
It's the raging Riveras. First and third and 2 out. Here's Jay Bruce. A double and a strikeout tonight. And he pops one up in foul ground. Can Gillespie get there? He can. Side retired. So Samardzija strands 2 in the bottom of the 4th. 5-1 Mets as we head for the 5th at Citi Field. Fifth inning brought to you by your local Ford dealers. The Buy Ford Now sales event is on. For huge savings, go to buyfordnow.com. Fifth inning, Zach Wheeler with a 5-1 lead. Faces 8-9-1 on the Giants order. Gorkys Hernandez leads off. No warm-up action in the Giants bullpen, so it looks like Jeff Samardzija is going to continue on and take the turn at bat. Hernandez grounded out his first time up. So a couple of out-of-town pitching performances of note, good and bad. Slow ground ball. Walker in. 1 out. Max Scherzer has no hit the Orioles through 5 innings. That's with a 1-0 lead in the 6th. And Bartolo Colon in Houston has gotten lit up for 5 runs in the first inning. Carlos Beltran a home run. And the results for Colon just have not been good early in the season.
43 years old?
Soon to be 44.
Correct.
A couple of weeks.
Well, Father Time catches up to you sooner or later. We'll keep an eye on that.
Mets will be back in Atlanta next month. So between now and then, it'll be fascinating to see if Colon can get it going. Samardzija had a base hit his first time up, and he grounds that one down to third. Flores shovels it up, and there are 2 out.
You know, the great thing about watching how the transformation or evolution of Zach Wheeler, you want to start out with a real athletic stance. It doesn't matter if you're a linebacker taking a face-off or shooting a free throw. He's got a beautiful athletic stance. But watch the difference in the timing between 2014 and 2017. He has slowed down his motion and made sure that his arm catches up to his lower half. On the left, one of the things that would always happen to him is arm would lag. That means it would be late. It would not get out in front of him. Had a hard time throwing strikes. just the opposite now. He has slowed it down 2 clicks or 2 seconds in the way he approaches coming to the plate, and it allows his arm to get through. That's why he's made this improvement.
That really was an amazing difference.
I mean, look at where he is, releasing the ball in 2014, and he's still closed in 2017. So all those times that he was down in Port St. Lucie by himself, struggling with not being able to come back and play, he kept working and working and working to refine his mechanics. You're proud of a pitcher when he does that.
Has to be some benefit to having 2 years off, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, that's you make an interesting point, Gary, because you know he's a gem that's not polished. I think we fall in love with the age of a pitcher. How about the experience of a pitcher? He's been gone 2 years, so you know it's hard to judge him by his birthday age.
And Panic strikes out to end the inning. Strikeout number 4 for Wheeler, who has been in firm command tonight. He's got 5 good ones under his belt. Halfway through at Citi Field, 5-1 New York. Only 2 hits. Your 4th, 5th inning recap. Zach Wheeler, just 2 hits over 5 innings. Mets scored 4 in the first to support him. Jeff Samardzija has settled down a little bit, but Neil Walker hits a ground ball down to Belt. And Samardzija over to cover. Walker retired for the first out in the home 5th.
Well, no hitter should ever beat Samardzija to the bag.
Well, he knows how to catch a pass.
Well, he dropped a high hopper already today. Well, if it was a football, he wouldn't have dropped it.
Better with the oblate spheroid.
There you go.
Granderson takes a strike. The interesting thing about Samardzija's college football career is that his first 2 years at Notre Dame, he didn't play that much. And then his junior year, he emerged as an enormous national star.
Sounds to me like bad coaching. Right?
Was that Charlie Weiss?
I don't know.
Is that
Come on.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Jose Reyes on deck. Granderson has fouled out both his at bats, once to first, once to third. Samardzija ahead of him 0-2. And the splitter foul tipped and held by Posey for the second out. 5 strikeouts now for Samardzija.
Well, there's the splitter right here. Watch the bottom drop out. I think he needs to throw that a little more to the left-hand hitter.
I think you're right, Keith. And it's amazing how sharper his stuff has gotten inning to inning.
But he just has to learn. He doesn't throw inside the left-handers. He's just going to continue to get nailed by the lefties.
He's retired 10 of the last 12 batters and 5 strikeouts in that span.
Yep, the horses are out of the barn.
Well, some of them anyway. It's not a full-fledged stampede yet. Reyes has hit the ball sharply twice. Single to center to drive in a run, then hit a hard shot toward the middle, and Christian Arroyo made a nice play and threw him out. And by the way, no sooner did we talk about it than Max Scherzer's no-hit bid came to an end. Seth Smith hit a home run against him to tie the game. Nats won, Orioles won in the 6th.
Don't the Orioles usually have Washington's number down there?
Beat them last night. 5 straight wins now for the Orioles as they try and keep pace with the absurdly hot Yankees.
Amazing start for the New York Yanks.
Sabathia getting whipped around a little bit in Cincinnati, though, tonight. They're down 5-3 in the 5th. 1-2 coming, and Reyes fouls it back. The Giants 1 run and 2 hits. The Mets 5 runs and 9 hits. Samardzija trying to get through the 5th. Reyes slaps it to left. On comes Nunez, and he catches this one to retire the side. Mets are out 1-2-3. On to the 6th we go. Wheeler back to the mound with a 5-1 lead. Next inning, Brandon Belt leads off against Zach Wheeler. Belt has struck out his first 2 times tonight and his last 3 times last night. 5 straight strikeouts, career high for Belt. The last 10 seasons for the Giants, there's been much to talk about. 3 World Series titles, 2010, 2012, 2014.
And that was the post Barry Bonds years that they had found all this success.
Well, they did a lot of it with pitching, and you know, a diverse cast of characters. Really, the The only guy who has bridged that entire successful era and is still here is Buster Posey. Among position players, Lincecum won the 2 Cy Youngs right before the World Series run. If you go back a little further, back to their New York days, one of the great Giant heroes was Mel Ott, who came up as a 17-year-old to the Giants in 1926.
And wasn't such a giant. 5'9", Mel Ott.
Had the great leg kick.
And the pitch. It's a swing you wouldn't emulate, but he was the master at the Polo Grounds of pulling that ball down the right field line. 500 home runs. He's part of that elite home run crew. And everybody who gets lost in the shuffle is Bill Terry. And Bill Terry, folks, was a very fine hitter for the New York Giants. He's the last, he was the first baseman, last National League hitter to hit 400.
1934?
I think so.
But Ott was a 6-time home run champion in the National League. He walked a lot. Led the league in walks 5 times. In tight ball 4, and Belt draws a walk. 3-2 curveball there from Wheeler. 3rd walk. Well, Ott, who's choked up.
That's not a good swing.
Had the leg kick.
Look at this leg kick, and look at that hitch. This is a better swing here, folks. That is number 4. That's a good swing.
Headed uptown to the Polo Grounds to watch Mel Ott for 20 years, 22 years as a Giant. His entire career played with the New York Giants. 511 home runs, lifetime .304 hitter, lifetime .414 on base percentage. John McGraw, who managed the Giants early in Ott's career, brought him up as a 17-year-old and said, I don't want anybody messing with his swing. Hunter Pence 0 for 2, and he hits a sharp ground ball. Should be 2. Walker with the flip. Reyes with the turn. 4-6-3 double play. Two out and nobody on.
Nothing better as a pitcher when you give up a bullet and it's right at someone.
Yes, sir. That ball was hit on the screws, Ronnie, and better to be lucky than good sometimes. Beautiful feed by Walker. Perfect for Jose. Perfect timing.
How much happier is Jose coming across the bag on a double play than fielding ground balls at 3rd?
I would tend to agree with you.
Here's Posey, who homered his last time up for the Giants' only run of the night. That's 11 ground ball outs now for Zach Wheeler of his first 17 outs. Posey a little off balance, and it's 1-1.
Seven RBIs at a .366 batting average with 4 home runs. That's amazing.
It's an anemic team around him. That's what.
That doesn't mean there's a yes.
Rookie of the Year in 2010, MVP in 2012. Had the year that he lost to the messed up knee in between. 3-1 now to Posey.
Leesburg, Virginia, Florida State, right, Gary?
Florida State Seminole. Gerald Dempsey Posey.
Got a batting title, correct? Very difficult for a catcher to do that.
And there's ball 4, second walk of the inning for Wheeler in his 4th of the night. Let's check in with the studio. Justine Ward has a game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. Thank you, Justine. The very difficult to say Seth Smith. What were his parents thinking? Bouncer Robles up in the bullpen as Wheeler closes in toward 100 pitches. He'll face Connor Gillespie with 2 out and a runner at first. Gillespie is grounded out twice and hits a slow ground ball to Reyes. He'll go to first with it. And that retires the side. 12 ground ball outs in 6 innings for Zach Wheeler. He's been in firm command. 5-1 Mets in the 6th. Tomorrow, get a recap of tonight's Rangers Game 6 at the Garden, plus all the reaction from tomorrow's Mets-Giants finale here at Citi Field on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, tomorrow at 5, only on SNY. That was Jonas Schwartz pictured there. Your Verizon trivia question, we mentioned Mel Ott. He helped the Giants win the 1933 World Series. Whom did they defeat in that World Series? Lessons not learned. Zach Wheeler, 6 strong innings, 95 pitches, nobody up in the bullpen, so it looks like he'll continue on. Rene Rivera leads off and takes a curveball for a strike from Jeff Samardzija, whom you would have been surprised to see pitching in the 6th inning had you watched the first 2. But he has settled in nicely and retired 11 of his last 13 hitters. Rivera had an RBI double in the first. And takes a big hack, and it's 0-2. Samardzija has struck out 5, has not walked about it tonight, but he's given up 5 runs and 9 hits. All the runs coming in the first 2 innings.
He's been a little victimized by poor outfield defense.
Wilmer Flores hitting 8th in the order on deck, and then the pitcher's spot. And Rivera strikes out. Number 6 for Samardzija, 1 down in the home 6th.
Well, tough on right-handers is a slider right here. Pretty good one too. Got Rivera to chase.
Well, Wilmer Flores is up, and Matt Reynolds has come out on deck. There's no action as yet in the Mets bullpen, but it looks like there will be, and that Wheeler may indeed be done. There's Reynolds, part of the Mets 4-man bench. Alonso Robles was up earlier. Looks like he's getting up again. And Samardzija keeps it away, 2-0. So if Wheeler is done for the night, certainly a job well done tonight. And I guess, Ronnie, you have to we have to continue to keep in mind the amorphous innings limit that is going to be on Zach Wheeler this year.
Yeah, the strange thing, right, is the better he does, the less amount of time we're going to see him here in the major leagues. But the key for Zach as an organization is you get him through this year, advancing his evolution as a pitcher and keeping him healthy.
Rocket foul off the bat of Flores. Well, I go back to 2015 and all the conversation about Matt Harvey and what his innings limit should have been, and he wound up pitching more innings than any pitcher have ever had coming back from Tommy John surgery. So, they started out talking about 120, 130 innings for Wheeler as Flores pops one up and Arroyo goes back to get it and stays with it for the out. I just wonder how much that's going to expand as he continues to succeed, if he does, as this year goes along.
Yeah, I think it was real smart of the Mets not to put a number on it. I've seen a lot of teams in the past put a number on it and then they're locked into that number for the press, for the when it gets close. So I'm glad that they didn't put a number on it. That being said, it should be an eyeball test, but also sticking to around what you think it should be, because we're talking about a young man who lost 2 years to an injury. You wouldn't want to do anything that would jeopardize that for his season next year.
So Reynolds batting for Wheeler, who went 6, allowed 1 run and 2 hits tonight. Got 12 outs on the ground in 6 innings. He walked 4 and struck out 4. Reynolds 1 for 7 to start his big league season. And he shoots 1 foul and it's 0-2. Well, the next assignment for Zach will be against a far better offensive team in a really tough venue in Arizona.
Well, Arizona slipped to 3rd place, 2.5 behind Colorado. But they've got some hitters over there.
They do. Goldschmidt and Lamb and Pollock.
And a stadium, a ballpark that is hitter friendly.
And in all probability, because it's supposed to be relatively cool in Arizona, it's supposed to be in the 80s next week, the roof will probably be open. And when the roof is open there, the ball really flies. 1-2 coming. And Reynolds takes a little bit high, 2-2. I don't know if the roof will be open in Milwaukee this weekend.
I don't
it's supposed to be pretty chilly.
Yeah, I don't think it will be.
Maybe for the day game. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon at Miller Park. And Reynolds down on strikes. 7 strikeouts for Samardzija. He's retired 7 in a row. Trying to keep his team around. Wheeler's work is done. 5-1 Mets after 6. Mets got off to a fast start tonight. Zach Wheeler has done the rest through the first 6 innings, and the Mets trying to get to 500 tonight, leading 5-1. Tonight's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. New graphic look, very nice. Zach Wheeler, 6 innings, 2 hits. Jeff Samardzija hit early, but then settled down nicely over the last 4. Hansel Robles, first man out of the bullpen for New York as we go to the 7th, facing Christian Arroyo, and he throws a fastball for a strike.
Hansel, those numbers don't lie. He's been pitching. Very sluggish start, erratic, but he's gotten it together.
Hit sharply down at third, and Flores equal to it. Low throw and scoop beautifully by T.J. Rivera for the first out.
Very nice, T.J. It's not that easy. That was an in-between hop, a tough one with a backhand. Very nicely done.
You know, Keith, Wilmer puts himself in a position by taking so long to throw that if he makes any kind of mistake, he's not going to be rewarded. You know, Rivera makes a great play on this, but if he got rid of it a little quicker, if he's off the mark, it gives him a little more leeway.
Well,
you know,
infielders are taught to throw pretty much like from the ear, running like a catcher almost. And Wilmer, he winds up, and that's what gets Wilmer in trouble. And you lose valuable seconds with a runner running down the first base line.
Eduardo Nunez is 0 for 2, grounded out twice. Keith mentioned Hansel Robles kicking it in gear. Hansel comes into the night having thrown 12 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings going back to the middle of April. Now he's given up some inherited runners during that time, so he's not exactly pristine, but he really has turned it up a notch.
I've always liked him. He's a guy that you have to beat. He's not going to knuckle under with pressure. And he has his good days and his bad. When he's bad, he gets hit. But I have no problem with Hansel out there.
You know, and he's not afraid to take the ball. That's something you want. He's got a rubber arm, which is great for a guy in the bullpen. And he's one of the few relievers with that quick pitch. He's one of the few relievers I've seen in our time at SNY who has improved in the bullpen and acquired 2 more pitches. You know, the slider and the changeup are 2 pitches that he did not have really when he started. He just barrel chested it up there at 95, 96 miles an hour, but he's gotten better, and that's a cool thing.
2-2 coming to Nunez, and the slider fouled off. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. Whom did the Giants beat? Capitalizing in the 1933 World Series, and that was Walter Johnson and the Washington Senators
in 5 games.
(1933). Can you imagine what life was like? The nadir of the Depression. Robles strikes out Nunez for the second out.
You know, we were talking about Zach Wheeler's mechanics and how he really is kind of a whip to the plate. Robles is just the opposite. He is a big, burly guy, barrel chested, and he kind of just overpowers the baseball when he throws it to the plate. Not barrel chested in the bullpen is Jerry Blevins.
Here's Gorkis Hernandez, who's 0 for 2. And fouls one off Rivera and back. Michael Morris has come out on deck to pinch hit.
Here's the motion I was talking about. Pretty simple. You know, he's got a strong lower half, does push off well, but boy, that upper half gets all the power from there. Just almost all arm for Robles. He's that strong.
In the air to right. Easy for Bruce. And Hansel Robles has himself a 1-2-3 top of the 7th. Stretch time at Citi Field, 5-1 New York. Thanks, Justine. Bart's retired 9 in a row since then, but damage done. Jeff Samardzija still out there for the home 7th. Michael Conforto up for the 4th time. A double in 3 trips for Conforto tonight. Facing Samardzija, who has really settled in after his difficult start. He's retired 14 of his last 16 batters with 7 strikeouts in that span, including Conforto in the 4th. Conforto gets a hold of one to deep right center. Pence gives it a courtesy view, but it is in the seats. A home run for Michael Conforto, his 8th of the year. And the Mets' first home run of the night makes it 6-1 New York.
I kind of agree with Terry. Don't take him out of that leadoff.
Why would you?
Jeez, he's just killing it.
He's getting on base with regularity and hitting it out of the ballpark often enough.
Hanging bell tie slider. Flat, and he stayed right with it.
8 home runs for Conforto, just 1 behind Jay Bruce for the club lead.
And a view from the side. I love this view. Very compact, quick hands, good balance.
That Mets home run means $2,000, enough for No Kid Hungry to provide 20,000 meals courtesy of Citi. TJ Rivera 3 for 3 tonight, 2 singles and a double, and he lines that one foul. TJ has 1 4-hit game in his career. It came last year in Arizona. 3 hits tonight, has his season average up to 315. Remember, he had 333 last year after winning the Pacific Coast League batting title. He's basically hit 300 everywhere he's ever been. And the fastball gets him looking for the first out of the inning. 8 strikeouts now for Samardzija. Must have been looking for something else.
I would think so.
Hey, Keith, I wanted to ask you a question. When they throw the ball around the horn on the strikeout, when did the first baseman get taken out of it?
I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah. I remember when you were in youth ball, sometimes the first baseman would get included. Third, second to short to first, sometimes to the pitcher.
It used to be with a there was a time when they used to throw it to first base first.
Right.
Was it off a left-hand hitter only? I forget.
Right-hand hitter.
Right-hand hitter, yes.
Well, I figure there's one of 2 reasons why the first baseman doesn't get involved. Either 1, because he catches enough balls in the course of the game anyway, or 2, because some first basemen don't throw that well.
Or 3, he has no interest in being part of it.
Well, if you went around the horn in today's game, my goodness, they'd be 4-hour games.
Oh, with all the strikeouts. Can you imagine that 18-inning game in Chicago?
I don't know. With the walk-up music for the next guy, it's, you know, you got enough time before the next hitter steps in anyway.
You get to the second stanza.
Right. Bruce is 1 for 3 tonight, and Jay grounds 1 foul. Samardzija had 108 pitches. He threw 101 in 8 innings in his last start against the Dodgers. And Bruce breaks his bat, lofts one, and Belt goes back to grab it. 2 out. Time for the unlimited baseball break, brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, the Adam Wilkes saga of the other day, where he had to fly from Albuquerque to LA to New York on a red eye and then get up on the mound, got us to thinking about how far it is for the Mets to bring up a player from AAA compared to other teams. 1,200 miles further than any other team has to fly in their AAA players, complete with aircraft sounds.
It's funny, when I heard that, I looked up because, you know, here, you never know.
He actually had a fairly low flying plane earlier tonight, didn't we, Ron?
Yes.
Walker had a 2-run triple back in the first inning, 1 for 3 on the night. The Mets used to have East Coast AAA affiliates, Norfolk and Buffalo, and even New Orleans was more convenient than having their team in Vegas. So they've been stuck with Vegas now for several years. And it's a problem because, you know, you think about the teams that are at close proximity with their AAA team, like Boston and Pawtucket or Denver and Colorado Springs. Anytime they need to bring up a player, it's a car drive away.
Well, they weren't sure about Cabrera, so they had to send Cicchini here. And, you know, you wouldn't have to, you know, if he was at Norfolk, like the old days, you know, it's a hop, skip, and a jump.
What's the solution? Well, the solution is the next time that the 2-year window opens for AAA affiliates, you have to be better at the game of musical chairs. Walker strikes out on the splitter, and Samardzija completes his night with 9 strikeouts. Nice recovery by Samardzija, but Conforto's home run expands the Mets' lead 6-1 after 7. Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. We go to the 8th inning. Mets with a 6-1 lead. Hansel Robles, who pitched a 1-2-3-7, stays out there to start the 8th inning. And Justin Ruggiano, who played for the Mets last year, will be the pinch hitter, batting for Samardzija, who's done after 7 innings. Allowed 6 runs and 10 hits. Ruggiano grounded out in his only at bat coming off the bench last night. With the left-hand hitters to follow, this might be Robles' last batter. The Giants have Panic and Belt next, and the Mets have Jerry Blevins up in the bullpen. I don't think we've mentioned yet the fact that the Mets sent Josh Smoker back to the minor leagues today. When they activated Matt Harvey off the suspended list, Smoker was optioned. And so the Mets, who had 4 lefties in their bullpen earlier this year, are now down to 2. Of course, the Mets added Tommy Milone to the roster yesterday, and Milone is going to make the start tomorrow afternoon in the final game of the series. Coverage begins at 12:30 on SNY. So Milone, who was let go by Milwaukee, claimed by the Mets, and he will get thrown into the fire tomorrow against the veteran Matt Cain, who had been pitching very well until his last start against the Reds when he got beat up. Ruggiano fouls it back, and it's 1-2.
Ruggiano's strength has always been left-handed pitching. He usually dominates left-handed pitching, as you see bullpen action for the Giants.
Cody Guerin is up for San Francisco. 2-2 now to Ruggiano. Giants have had just 2 hits tonight. One of them a Buster Posey home run for their only run. And Ruggiano jumps back, got hit on the arm. And he'll go to first base. And that will be the end of Hansel Robles' tenure in the game.
Six to 1. That can't happen.
So Robles, who worked a 1-2-3 7th, hits a batter to start the 8th, and now Jerry Blevins will come in to face the left-hand hitters. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. 6-1 Mets. We'll be right back. He's been a special weapon out of the Mets bullpen. Veteran Jerry Blevins comes in to face Joe Panic with a runner on and nobody out in the 8th. And a fastball in for a strike.
Well, he certainly has been that. And look at against the left-handers, a 111 batting average. The inherited runners is always very, very important statistic when you evaluate relievers.
And how about the strikeouts? 17 strikeouts and 11 1/3 for a guy who doesn't throw 90 miles an hour. Curve ball hit in the air to right, and Bruce has it measured. 1 out.
You know, what's interesting is Brandon Belt comes up. You know, when we watch Jerry Blevins' breaking pitch in the booth, we know that it's a big breaker. But the one thing that I see down here is the differential between his fastball and his curveball is huge. So Panic had a good swing on that, but he was just ahead of it because it took forever to get there.
That Frank Viola had a curveball like that, Ronnie. And I remember having a game in spring training when he was with the Twins, and he got me out the first 2 times on that curveball, and much like Panic out in front. And I found, for me, when you got a pitcher that has a slow curve like that, is that you stand more upright. If you get more crouched, you can't wait. It's a very deceptive curve, like Belt right there out in front.
And you're talking about a 17 mile an hour, 18 mile an hour difference between his fastball and his curve.
But the same arm action. That's the deception, is that you don't know by his arm action that a fastball or curve's coming, but his grip and his ability to spin it gives you that differential.
Curveball comes from behind the left-hand batter.
Right.
You think it's never going to get there, and it does.
Those guys that have that big sweeper like that, I used to like to get on top of the plate, so now they know that my barrel, my bat's on the outside corner, and maybe force them to throw again, come out of their game and pitch me in.
Another lazy fly ball on the curveball. And Bruce puts that one away, and Belt's retired, 2 out.
You got to make adjustments in this game, and you want to get a pitcher out of his comfort zone, comfort level. Jerry loves that curveball, and that's going to be all for Jerry. He does his job again, comes in, 2 left-handed outs. But if they're constantly getting you out one way, Gary, you got to do something different at the plate.
So Addison Reed will come in to face Hunter Pence. Blevins gets his job done. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Take them with you. Watch every SNY Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Addison Reed worked a 1-2-3 8th last night. Looking to get 1 out in the 8th tonight. Hunter Pence is 0 for 3. Grounded into a double play his last time up. T.J. Rivera playing behind the runner Ruggiano at first, with the Mets up by 5 runs. And Pence takes a fastball for a strike, 1-1.
You guys know that I'm on the on-deck circle behind Posey. Addison Reed, when he takes the ball and he gets it set, he looks right at me and Posey. Like he's not even looking at the hitter. Kind of eerie.
Slowly hit. Walker in. Bobbles. And still got him. Neal able to recover in time to throw out Pence. And Reed gets the out he needs to finish off the top of the 8th. Bobble. Got him. Sports Night. More on Matt Harvey's apology today. More Mets news as well. And, of course, the Rangers in Game 6 against Ottawa. Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame. Here's your Mets box score presented by Verizon. T.J. Rivera has 3 hits. Michael Conforto a home run. Mets scored 4 in the first, 1 in the second, and have held the lead with fine pitching and lead at 6-1 as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Cody Guerin out of the bullpen for San Francisco in to face Curtis Granderson to start the bottom of the 8th. Curtis is 0 for 3 tonight, and first pitch swinging, flies one out to center. Yorkis Hernandez right under. 1 pitch, 1 out.
And there's Guerin's numbers, and take a look at the BB right there. 12 walks and 11 2/3. Ouch.
He was much better than that last year, just 14 walks in 48 innings.
You know what those numbers tell you? Because he has the low ERA, that he's leaving games with runners on and someone's picking him up.
Here's Reyes, who's hit the ball hard 3 times tonight. 1 for 3, singled in a run in the first inning. Jeff Samardzija went 7 through 114 pitches. Allowed 6 runs, 10 hits, no walks, 9 strikeouts, and 1 home run. No daily double. No exacta.
I like that song. Was that the Lone Ranger? Where's Tonto?
Who was that masked man?
Hi-ho Silver.
Didn't have a chance to thank him.
Don't make me cough.
Is it Jay Silverheels?
Yes.
Yes.
Played Tonto?
Yes. And you know that famous joke, you know, about Tonto and the Lone Ranger. But we won't tell it.
Can you tell it on the air?
We can't. You can't tell it on the air, but I won't.
You know that you're such a tease. One and 2 to Reyes.
Ooh.
And that's lined down the right field side, foul as he got jammed. I'll keep breaking out his
I'm in green.
green jacket. Must have been an Augusta.
That 2-iron on the 17 won it for me.
The Masters winners don't go with the top vest underneath the green jacket, though.
Well, this is a nice camel, and it's wintry, and I've got a bronchial thing going on, obviously, and I needed to be warm up here.
Two and 2 to Reyes.
That was very funny. He threw the ball down and into Reyes, almost hit him. And what did Guerin do? He asked the third base umpire if he swung.
Two coming, and Reyes gets jammed again. Rolls it out to Panic, and there are 2 out. Looking ahead to the 9th inning, the Giants will have Posey, Gillespie, and Arroyo due up. Now Rene Rivera, who's 1 for 3. Doubled in a run back in the first. Mets trying to win tonight on the occasion of Terry Collins' 1,004th game as Mets manager, which moves him into sole possession of 2nd place on the Mets managerial list.
That would be behind Davey, correct?
Just past Bobby Valentine. He's now 8 behind Davey Johnson.
And how many years did Davey manage?
Well, Davies started in '84, and he was fired in May of 1990.
So
Terry's in his 7th full season. Just passed by Bobby Valentine. It's been a remarkable tenure for Terry. Had to go through a lot of losing years where his teams
sure did
played hard but fell short, and now 2 straight trips to the postseason and a tumultuous first month or so of this season. But amazingly enough, with all the injuries and the other tumult, Mets have a chance to get back to 500 tonight.
And that's the first accomplishment right there, is get to 500. That's your first goal when you get off to a bad start. Get to 500, and then you build from there. You don't get to 500, you're not going places.
It's a jumping off point. Rivera loops one into shallow right, and that'll fall for a base hit.
When you're hot, you're hot.
He is hot. Second hit of the night for Rivera. 12 hits in his last 6 games.
Slider on the outside corner, off the end of the bat. Nothing you can do about that. And another thing about Terry's tenure here, Gary, we've all three been here. Ronnie, you too, obviously. All of Terry's teams, even when they were not very good, they always came to play. Always hustled. They always play for Terry when you think that they're down and out.
Flores finds the hole, and he's got his second hit of the night. So the Mets with 2 out and 2 on.
Wilmer fastball. Wilmer had all intention was to go the other way. That ball was down the middle, played it to the opposite field. Like to see Wilmer do more of that situational hitting. He has the ability to do that. Got a runner on first base in a tight ball game. You set up a first and third.
Now Asdrubal Cabrera, who pinch hit last night and grounded into a double play, will pinch hit again. And there's every chance that Asdrubal might be in the Mets starting lineup tomorrow. After injuring his thumb Saturday night, it looked serious. Turned out not to be nearly as serious. 2 on and 2 out. Mets already up 6-1 in the 8th. Jerry's Familia was up a moment ago. I can't imagine why you'd bring him into this game after Familia pitched last night.
And I can't imagine throwing Reed any further.
No. Well, you're pinch hitting for a Reed here, so
right.
He got his one batter.
Sorry. Well,
but
thanks for that correction.
I mean, Montero is up, and with a 5-run lead, I think you'd like Montero to start the inning, and then if he gets in trouble, then then Familia can certainly get in there quickly enough.
If Montero comes in, he's got to throw strikes.
I was a little surprised that Montero was here today and that the Mets sent Josh Smoker down.
I was too.
I mean, Tommy Malone is going to take the start tomorrow, which was Montero's spot in the rotation. Guerin behind Cabrera, 2-0, and it's slapped the other way, a base hit. Rivera to third. He'll be held up there. So 3 straight hits load the bases with 2 out, with Michael Conforto coming up.
Nice hitting by Mr. Cabrera. You got a sinker ball pitcher up there. Side armor. His bread and butter's on the outside corner. That's a pitcher's pitch right there. But you know what? There's no surprise to it. You try to go up there and pull a pitcher like that, left-hand hitter, you're playing into his hands. That's just very nicely done. I love to see that.
So now Conforto, who already has a double and a home run tonight. The home run was his 8th of the year. It came in the 7th inning, his last time up. Michael has had 1 official at bat with the bases loaded this year and 7 RBIs. It's hard to do.
He's had a lot of walks.
4 bases loaded walks.
There's the home run. Belt high. Flat slider. Outer half of the plate. It's a very strong man.
And he has 1 grand slam this season. That belongs to Jay Bruce. And Conforto slashes one foul.
You see, did you see, Gary, that Posey called a slider first pitch inside? And the inexperience of Conforto, I mean, you're looking away for a sinker. You take that pitch. It's a surprise pitch. Okay, I dare you to do it again. Now you go to hitting. Now you saw Posey on the second pitch set up inside. And what did that fastball do, Guerin? It bled right over the outer half. He has a hard time pitching inside to left-handers. Coming inside again. And he missed badly. That's not his groove. It's not his groove. It gets him out of his when they show comfort zone. That's the word I'm looking for. Thanks, Greg, in the truck.
It's almost like he has his hand up your back.
He's very helpful. Slider. Okay, got a piece.
Consecutive singles by Rivera, Flores, and Cabrera, loading the bases with 2 out. One, 2 coming to Conforto.
Oh boy,
this is badly with that slider.
Yeah, he missed badly because that's his third slider that he wanted inside, and 3 in a row, tough to do. Not in a row, but 3 in this at bat.
Two, and Conforto hits it foul. And for the second time in this series, the shortstop Arroyo was standing at second base when that pitch was thrown, thinking there might be a pickoff play.
Well, when you watch Flores, he's so far off. It's not a bad play, but pitchers with the bases loaded and 2 strikes are not even looking at the shortstop. They're concentrating on the hitter.
I mean, this is almost, to me, with Bochy, with the 2 left-handers out there, not bring him in the game. It's almost like a concession to me of this game. If it was a closer game, there'd be a left-hander in here for sure. But 6-1, I've seen 5-run leads go south in the 9th inning.
Two to Conforto. And he grounds that one foul.
He's hanging in there. It's a heck of an at bat. He's fought off some pretty good sliders down and in. And Posey's not letting Guerin go away. He's been setting up inside. So this is the guessing game here. Have we pitched him inside enough now that we can go with that sinker away?
Keith, do you ever feel like when you're in a bat like this, you start to feel he's got nothing to get me out?
Well, he's pitched him actually some pretty good pitches, but there have been a lot of more than my share at bats where I just felt there's nothing this guy can throw to get me out. Normally you're red hot.
8th pitch of the at bat coming to Conforto. And he grounds one weakly, broke his bat. Panic throws him out, and Guerin able to survive the bottom of the 8th. On to the 9th we go with the Mets up 6-1. All right, guys, there's the line score. 6-1 Mets as we go to the ninth. And even after he pitched yesterday and with a day game tomorrow, Jeurys Familia is going to get the ball with a 5-run lead in the ninth.
Well, 5 pitches last night, a quickie for him, and he's a big, strong guy. Run him out there. 8 innings pitched on the year. Of course, he missed the first 2 weeks of the season.
Buster Posey's accounted for the only Giants run tonight with a 4th inning home run, his 2nd in 2 nights and his 4th of the year.
Yeah, I'm always surprised that when a move is made like this after the game, I'm always trying to read if any of the reporters ask Terry why he used Familia in this situation, but they don't always ask that question.
Perhaps they will now, Ron.
Sorry, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it in that way. They can do whatever they want to do, but it's just for my own personal knowledge.
Well, we've been talking a lot early this season about how the Mets pitching has underperformed expectations. Do you know that before Zach Wheeler tonight, Mets starters had gone 17 straight games without allowing 1 run or less? Wheeler allowed 1 run tonight. First time in 18 games a Mets starter has allowed 1 or less. That's hit sharply. Reyes, though, snags it. Plenty of time to get Posey. 1 out. And now Jeurys Familia with an interesting matchup. He will take on Connor Gillespie for the first time since last October.
Oh, yes, I remember it well. This was a stunner.
A home run that broke Met hearts and ended the Mets season. Connor Gillespie's out of nowhere 3-run homer to break up a scoreless game in the 9th inning against Familia in the wild card game. Gillespie has done little since. He's 0 for 3 tonight, 6 for 43 to start this season. And Familia throws a hard fastball for a strike. Postseason has not often been kind to Familia. Now, some of the save chances that he blew in 2015 were the result of some poor defense behind him. That's grounded down to first. Off the bag. Great play by Rivera, and he gets the out. What a nice reaction by T.J. Rivera off that cushion shot from Gillespie.
Well, playing deep here. Ooh, nice play. Nice reach. Nice sky for that ball. Hit the bag. Right smack on the front corner. Nice play.
It's off the manhole cover.
2 sewers down. So the Giants are down to their final out. Here's Christian Arroyo, who's walked twice and grounded out 0 for 1. One to Arroyo. Zach Wheeler stands to get his 2nd win of the year. Robles, Blevins, Reed, all holding the Giants scoreless. And now Familia trying to get the final out. And Arroyo bangs one off his leg, a foul ball. And now the Giants are down to their final strike.
$1 o'clock game tomorrow.
That's trying to finish off a tidy affair tonight. 1-2 coming to Arroyo. Fly ball, center field. Granderson right there waiting for it. And the ball game is over. Mets have made the long climb back to 500, winning 8 of their last 11.
Great pitching tonight. Wheeler in the bullpen combining a 2-hitter, the low-hit game for the Mets pitching staff this season. And the Mets have taken the first 2 of the series from the Giants, winning tonight 6-1.
Well, the Giants are battered up and beaten up, and their defense in the outfield was a Mets savior today. They got 4 runs in the first inning. Walker with a 2-run triple. It was a ball misplayed by Eduardo Nunez in left field. Conforto, 8th home run, 2 for 5. So the Mets bang out 13 hits without Cespedes. Everybody worried about the offense. They've been hitting.
Nothing for the Mets to apologize for tonight. The game summary presented by Verizon. TJ Rivera continues his fine hitting. Rene Rivera had 2 more hits as well. Conforto with a double and a home run. Zach Wheeler gets his second win as the Mets thumped the Giants 6-1. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Cass Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwellhealth.edu/cats. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $40,000. Mets are now 16-16 on the year, back to the 500 mark, having won 8 of 11. Well, it turned out to be a good night to send Ronnie downstairs to have a look at Zach Wheeler and company. What's your overall takeaway down there?
Well, I think we talked a lot about mechanics, and I think I love to see a young pitcher who's gone through what Zach has gone through, and he completely understands his mechanics, but he's not a slave to them in this sense. Watching him throw tonight, he threw nice and free and easy. He competed, and I think for the first time in a while, we're starting to see Zach Wheeler start to make that ascent to be the kind of pitcher that he can be.
Certainly was terrific tonight. Allowed just 1 run and 2 hits over 6 innings. Ronnie, we look forward to having you back up here tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, Ron.
All right.
You can't slough down there.
Mets win it tonight 6-1 over the Giants. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.